So we're going to jump deeper into geographic farming. If you guys are wondering what today's session is going to be about, um, it is imperative that you do this the right way if you want it to be, if it actually produce some business for you. How much time we got here? All right, we at 10:10. We're going to get started, y'all. So welcome. Again, today's session, we're talking about geographic farming. I'm gonna try to stick to the script today and not go too far into any rabbit holes. But if you have any questions, we'll have a little bit of time, hopefully at the end, to be able to address some of that stuff. So working and dominating a geographic farm, right? So geographic farming, as we all know, is a system, and what we all may not know, so let me not make any assumptions. Geographic farming is a system. This is a piece of your business, right? So look at it as a way for me to make a profit and to generate revenues, right? So it's a means to getting there. There needs to be a system in place for you to be able to actually execute, right? It's one thing to say you want something. It's another thing to actually put forth the effort, right? Going back to LeBrons of the world and Michaels of the world, right? So determine, first and foremost, we have to know how many homes are in these markets and in these geographic territories that we're identifying, right? So that's going to be the first place. And we have to recall what our budget is going to allow us to be able to actually take care of from a marketing standpoint. So we don't want to shoot for 1,000 homes if our budget is 100 or 200 home budget at the moment, right? You can always grow, but we have to know what we're working with. It starts with a little bit of research, and everybody has the tools to be able to do that. You want to choose your actions and activities to work your farm. Again, it's bigger than just one size fits all. First off, the neighborhood in itself is going to determine how you should be speaking to it, right? So because and for instance, if you have a neighborhood that you're farming and it's a multi-million-dollar home neighborhood, they're not going to look at the little yellow paper thing that's one of the options that you can send out for farming, right? They need the biggest postcard, the glossiest postcard. Good morning, Michelle. They need the biggest postcard, the glossiest postcard, right? That quality of that is going to be crucial for them to select you as the person to list their property, right? Whereas $150,000 price point neighborhood, they might not care. You can probably get away with the lowest quality postcard and it still be effective for you. I never encourage you to not do anything that's of quality and of the highest quality, especially in alignment with this brand, right? But just to give you an idea, like everything isn't going to work for everybody or every neighborhood. So we want to make sure we understand the neighborhood that we're targeting to be able to actually get some sort of results and have it be effective, right? We want to calendar those activities and stick with the plan. You cannot expect to send one marketing piece out one time in 1 month and then become the expert in the market and list all of the homes that come to market in that neighborhood. It doesn't work that way, right? You are literally buying mind share with every single piece that's submitted to these individuals, with every single phone call that you make to them, right? And again, we'll go into various components as we go down into the list that we go over here today. But like I said, I don't want to jump too far off, but you have to be specific, right? You have to, this is why you need to do the research up front to identify which market you're in, right? If we can have everybody mute, if you don't mind. So moving along. So as you identify your market, and you start to implement the system, again, you guys literally have the playbook, right? Those that are physically present have it in print, and those that aren't here today, you still have access to all of this information. It's all in one university. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here, right? And if you take the time to go out there and see what we have for you as a resource, you'll understand that you never in your life have to pay for a lead again. Can we show you how to pay for a lead? Of course. Right? That's a completely different prospecting means than farming a market. Again, going back to, I don't know, it might be 4 or 5 workshops ago now, the highest earning individuals in this industry dominate listings. They are the curator of the inventory. They own that shit, right? It's not the people shopping around, getting leads off of the internet, doing this and that. The team leaders that do that, yeah, they can make a killing because they got 12 people that are going to be burnt out, showing a million homes all the time, and they're getting a big piece of the change, right? So it's like, if that's not your business model, then don't only look at that as your only means of prospecting. I hear it all the time. Leads, leads, leads. Generate the volume of business that you want by actually putting in some work and prospecting. This is how the top tier individuals get down, and they always will, right? This is why when you see the listings in those neighborhoods, it's the same people all the damn time, with a couple of other people sprinkled in here and there, right? Because they are specific about the strategies that they use to go out there and get that market share, right? Last week we went over how to choose your farm on Remind, right? And again, that's not your whole farm. Those are various farms. We also showcase how you can select specific low-hanging fruit, right? Those withdrawals, those expires, those to be coming to the market, the ones that are highly likely to be listed in the next, in the near future, right? So we've identified all of that. Right now we're speaking again specifically about your farm, your geographic territory that you are going to own and that you are going to dominate, right? So we want to consider the turnover over the last 12 months, right? A great point of emphasis will be about 4.5% turnover rate for that neighborhood, right? Annually, that's decent, right? Now, if you can get a higher turnover rate, right, that's where you want to be. If it's less than 4%, you have to really consider that particular market. Now, again, if we're talking, my market is Peachtree City, and I specialize in homes that's right on that little lake, and everything over there is 3 million plus for the most part, right? Unless it needs some major renovations. That thing might sit for a while. That's a very specific buyer that wants that, right? And the pool of buyers isn't that vast for you to be able to just expect a turnover rate of above 5%. So again, if is that the field that I'm playing in, or if that's one of my markets, that's perfectly fine if that fits your business model. Because you might say, hey, I only need to sell one of these homes per year to be able to hit the type of numbers I want to hit, in addition to wherever else I'm marketing, right? So again, it boils down to your specific business plan at the end of the day, but you still have to have a strategy to be able to actually perform, right? Can be a hope and a prayer.
So anything under 4.5% is what we should be aiming for, turnover rate?
No, you want 4.5% or higher, preferably, because you want those properties to turn over. Yeah, you want as many of them turned over as possible. Again, but it depends on the neighborhood. So if it's a $5 million neighborhood, it probably is not going to be a 4.5% turnover, right? It might be stuff where the original owner was Candler, that created Coca-Cola, and he passed it along down to his second generation, and they passed it along, and then it finally sold, right? 30 years later, or 40, 50 years later, and then it's not going to sell again until another 20 years, right? Because who has it now, they're going to pass it down. So there's a bunch of different things depending upon your market. So if it's a high price point market, super ultra uber high price point market, chances are the turnover rate won't be higher than that 4.5%. If it's at 4.5% and it's a 3 million plus neighborhood, I want to be there all day long. But again, even if it's 3.5%, but it's a $3 million plus neighborhood, it might still make sense for my business model, right? But on average, based off of the number that I want to make this year versus the amount of volume I have to do in my neighborhoods, in my markets, that's going to determine what that overall turnover rate should look like for you, right? So that's what I mean. If you identify a particular market, we can sit down and go over the economics to make sure that it's a sound market for you to be actually spending money in to market to, right? And to stay consistent in. That it's going to, again, ultimately lead to the amount of money that you want to make that year, right? Great question. We also want to consider demographics, right? Age, length of time owned. Are they likely to move? Going back to what we were looking at in the workshop last week, right? We can identify the people who are most likely to move based off certain algorithms, right? And we have so much technology available to us. We have so many tools in our suite alone, right? Just in one login, all the tools that we have. Again, I wish I had this type of stuff when I was out there practicing, man. Like I had to figure it out. Y'all literally got every single thing that you need. You have a coaching program back there, multiple coaching programs. But I'm specifically speaking about Debbie's, right? You have a coaching program that people pay tens of thousands of dollars annually to hear this same shit from her, the same exact thing. And she duplicates it, and agents are paying thousands of dollars annually to have access to that information. So there is literally no reason why everybody in here in our organization shouldn't just be knocking it out of the park, especially with our dope ass brand, right? So we have to use the tools that we have available to us to be able to effectively make the type of money that we want to make, right? But going back to the demographics, we want to consider who we're selling to, right? I used Peachtree City as an example earlier. Demographically, that might not be the wisest choice for me, right? Could I go out there and sell a lot of stuff? Of course, I can sell anything to anybody. So that's not the point, right? But I want to look at the demographics to have the highest probability of me making some money, right? So because I only have that dollar to worry about. So that $1 can only go one direction, right? So I can have $1 million and then spend all of my millions in a million different directions and get absolutely nowhere, right? We're talking about the power of that dollar. So if I'm spending $1 to market to someone, right, I want that dollar to be as highly probable of resulting in business to me as possible, right? So I don't want to spend that dollar in Peachtree City, for instance, if I know that that same dollar can take me a lot further in Atlantic Station based off of the demographics, based off of the turnover ratio, based off of the price point, based off of what my business model is suggesting I need to be doing to make the type of money that I want to make that year. Right, so it's all almost a science, right? And you do this stuff up front so you can identify which market you should be, cultivating. Otherwise, again, some people make the mistake of, oh, I love Peachtree City, I love the homes out here. Oh, I've never been to Peachtree City, I've never driven there. I don't even know that there's a whole golf cart trail throughout the entire community, right? They don't know these things, and then they go spend thousands of dollars monthly, and then 3 months later they stop. Right? It's like you did that all the way wrong. That's how you end up losing money. You didn't even do the research up front to see if it was the right market for you, right? So that's where we really want to hone in on, is that geographic territory that you want to own. You have to be comfortable being there as well, right? It has to feel right to you, right? You should be able to walk into this neighborhood, to this community and say, hey, I own this. This is mine, right? And really believe it and feel like you're going to be successful there. You don't want to go somewhere where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't speak their language. We don't have anything in common. Whatever. I'm not knowledgeable about the territory. Like, this is crazy. You set yourself up for failure when you do it that way. It's a crapshoot. Could it work? Yeah, it could, but it's not the highest probable means of making you some money, right? We want to consider a reasonable price point again. Some people are that's not in one lux. Some people might still say, hey, I can go out there and dominate $1 million plus properties. And that's perfectly fine. I think I can sell a $200 million property by myself, whether it's residential or commercial, whatever state it's in. I know I can, right? But everybody's not built like that. And some people have to grow to that standpoint. So don't put yourself in a position where you set yourself up for failure, right? Position yourself to win, and position yourself to get as much money as possible off of every single dollar that you spend and off of every single second that you spend, right? So a reasonable price point, or plural, reasonable price points, right? You don't have to stay, if it's one neighborhood, again, we want to be at between 500 and 1,000. We want to start at 100, nothing less than 100, right? For your market. But you want to grow that 100 in chunks to get to at least between 500 and 1,000, depending upon the price point that you're playing in, right? That's your geographic farm. Good morning, Thomas. So that's your geographic farm. That's where you want to play. That's where you want to be, right? And then you build off of that, but you have to own it. You have to own it, right? And you cannot stop. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key to success in any business, especially successfully farming, right? This is how the top producers make their money across the board, across the nation, right? All right, so keeping it moving. You want to study your competition. You have to know your competition. I don't mean be obsessed with them and stalk them and follow them on Instagram and everything else, right? But you need to know who you're up against, right? And some people ask, you know, do you want to be the first person in the door, the last person in the door? You should always assume that they're going to interview at least 2 other people. I used to always assume that they was going to interview at least 3, right? I'm like, okay, they're an astute individual. They're going to interview at least 3 people. I'll always want in first. I never wanted to go last. So I used to ask them, so when do you plan on interviewing these other individuals? And they would let me know if they had it scheduled already. And I would always attempt to be the first person in the door. Because if I do the presentation, you're not calling anybody else. The only reason you calling everybody else is to say, sorry, we made a decision. We don't need you to come over for that listing presentation, that marketing consultation, right? I've already got the listing. If I'm walking in the door, I get the listing unless they're not listing. The only way I'm not getting a listing after me being in somebody's door is because they decided not to put it on the market. That is the only time I lose listings, right? And you guys need to develop that confidence, and you get that by having the knowledge and by knowing the market in which you're going to pursue, right? It doesn't mean it has to be the neighborhood in which you live. Some people hate that. They're like, man, I don't want to go home and then be bombarded with people, you know, coming at me for like, I'm trying to rest. I've done my work today, right? So you don't have to. Do I think that if you don't have anywhere else to start and you just can't identify, that's probably a good starting point for sure. What you really want to consider is the convenience, right? How conveniently can I make it to these marketing consultations? You know what I mean? So if I live in Alpharetta, I can guarantee you my main market is not going to be Eagles Landing down south. You know what I mean? It makes absolutely no sense. Unless you have a team and that's one of your markets that you're feeding to your team because your team member lives around the area 15 minutes away or closer or whatever, you know, that's a different strategy, but it all boils down to your specific business model. And if you still don't have a business plan and we're this deep into the year, that's a whole nother conversation, right? All of these workshops began with the business plan, and everyone has access to multiple business plans inside of one university, right? And we at Meet Corporateness, we connect and we create one every single year that we update. And then we also have Debbie's back there, and there's additional ones. I even have one-sheeters that I can send out that I've been using for years if you want that. If those are a little bit too robust, you're like, man, I just want to see the numbers on one page. I got those, but you have to ask for it, right? Because I send stuff all the time and people don't even open it up. We track everything, right? So we track how often people are using OneSuite. We look at the adoption rate of Zone and all of the tools that's connected and integrated to that. So when people come and sit down in my office and say, hey, Adrian, I'm not where I want to be, this is why. The numbers don't lie, you know? All right, keeping it moving. So as you're studying your competition, you want to know who's there. You want to know who you're up against. You want to know, how do I make sure I position myself to win the business? If Joe Blow has been marketing to my neighborhood for the past 25, 30 years, and he owns over 20% of market share, I can beat him. Of course I can. But is it wise for me to spend my dollar to compete against Joe Blow? Or is it wiser for me to find an untapped market that's similar in nature, that I like just as much, that I can go dominate immediately with less spend because he's not over there? I'm probably gonna go that route, right? Some people want to go head to head, and that's fine as well, right? But like I said, we want to make sure that it makes economic sense for you as well. So we want to study our competition, you know? And you guys are better than anybody that's put in front of you if you believe it and if you equip yourself to be that, right? So it's like, but it starts with the knowledge. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling you, it's the easy, you can be as confident as possible, but if you don't have the knowledge to back it, you just sound like an arrogant asshole that I would never work with, right? But when you have the knowledge to present to them, if you're always adding value to your clients in every single step of the way, they feel that. They know they're not being sold. They understand that this person can deliver for me in the exact capacity in which they say, right? And I'm not I'm not looking at my competition to figure out what they're doing or what they're not doing. I'm figuring out how do I need to equip myself to make sure that when I'm in front of that owner, that they're gonna work with me instead of them. And I'm never throwing them under the bus. I'm not even acknowledging them, right? I could care less who it is, right? I'm gonna let you know what I'm going to do for you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, for you, not what I've done in the past. What I've done in the past might come up, right? And again, if you're going up against somebody who has 30 years of experience to your 9 months of experience, you use that to your advantage, right? This is what I do for my clients. And this is what I'm going to do for you because I am going to be the dominant listing agent in this neighborhood, this condominium high rise, this market, right? I'm going to be that. And I'm going to have so much more time to pour into this listing. This is what I'm going to do. I don't get paid until the listing sells, right? I'm going to do everything possible to get you your number or greater. Fuck the market value. Your number or better than that number. That's what I'm going to do for you. I'm not going to sit back and throw this with the rest of my listings and hope that they sell because I put them on the MLS. Absolutely not. I'm going to, and I'm giving them things to feel and to see and to recognize for them to understand what it is. Good morning, Maxine.
I was actually gonna ask that, because I've heard numerous stories about, agents throwing others under the bus, like drawing that line where it gets unethical. It's like, so study them to what extent? Like, am I like on FMLS? Am I looking at how long they've been in the business? Like, I'm on their website, like, where does the line draw for me to be like, I'm not being shady, but I'm also trying to like promote myself?
Yeah, for sure. I don't bring them up. You would never ever hear me talk about anybody, period, if they're not in my organization. The only time I'll speak is if I would, let's say me and you are going up for a listing, like say, and I don't actively prospect, but let's just say a buddy of mine called and was like, hey, Adrian, we would love for you. Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, Adrian, we would love for you to be able to, sorry, thank you. Good morning, iPhone. Your name isn't there, but welcome.
In progress.
All right. All right, so yeah, so your presentation. So you want to consider what they've done, but you never want to speak. If we can have everybody mute too, please. Right, so you want to, that's where you want to be. Their name should never come out of your mouth. If I'm presenting to someone and they say, well, yeah, one of the other agents that I'm interviewing is Cheyenne Washington. The only thing that's gonna come out of my mouth is you need to use Cheyenne. She needs to do. Can everybody mute first, please?
So just doing all that. I just wanted you to know that I was working on.
1 second here. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right. So, but yeah, that's the only time any agent's name is coming out of my mouth is if I'm telling the seller to work with them because that's one of our agents and they're gonna do a bomb ass job. And if you need me for anything, I'll help support her. Right.
But internally, what do you recommend we do that it's just like not too much, but it's enough so you can use it to your advantage? You know what I'm trying to say?
Sure.
Some people are like, oh, that agent doesn't respond, or they're bad at, and they say that stuff. And it's like, even if we know that, how do we study them to a point where it's like, I can use this to make myself stand out? Because, some people are going to ask you, well, we have these other people, so why would we pick you over them? And how do you keep that?
Absolutely. It's exactly.
Just keep redirected back to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's like, hey, I applaud them for doing what they've done.
Yeah.
And I've heard of them too. From what I hear, great person. I don't know. I couldn't really speak. I don't know them personally. However, my organization, right? You just bring it back home. Really, you don't really want it to be a situation to where you're going tit for tat or that you're throwing anybody under the bus ever, whether it's an agent or another brokerage. Right? Even if you've come from that other brokerage, right? There's been plenty of times where I was competing against people that were interviewing from a previous brokerage that I was at. And I would never be like, oh, that brokerage sucks, that's why I left, right? No. It's just like you buying me. I'm giving you the goods, I'm giving you me. First off, that's enough value in itself. After my presentation, after this consultation, right? There's no reason for you to interview anyone else. And I'm gonna be there super equipped to win, right? So my marketing consultation package itself is gonna be phenomenal, right? My pre-listing package that I send to them is gonna be phenomenal. Where do I get one of those? Creative Design Studio. They're already made for you. We got the best marketing team in the nation. Seriously, I've been a part of the best, and ours is by far the best. And we also have local level marketing assistance that we provide for y'all. We got a full-blown suite of tools done for you, right? I'm sending them that. I'm sending them that. I'm sending them listing updates. I'm sending them market updates and reports, right? All of this stuff from back in the, from Listing Track, Real Scout, right? My CMA is going to be incredible, but I'm not providing a CMA until I actually visit the property, right? How am I going to tell you what your property is worth if I've never seen it? I can tell you what the market statistics showcase for a property similar to yours, but that's not me doing a legitimate job of being your advisor or your consultant. If I come to a $500,000 listing appointment, I'm like, oh, your home is worth $500,000, and it's my first time seeing it. It's like, I'm definitely not going with you. You know, you might give me a range of something that it could be based off of market research, and then I'm going to identify what that should look like on how we position this property on the market once I actually see it and we go through the marketing consultation, right? But it's all about adding value to them. It's never an outside force. All they care about is, are you going to get this sold? Am I going to get my price? How long is it going to take? They don't care about anything else. Yes, Thomas.
Can I chime in real quick?
Please do.
Just to piggyback. Hello, everybody. I'm speaking of some of the points Adrian just brought up. I come from another brokerage, a very well-known one. And to piggyback on what you just said, Adrian.
Let me add to that real quick. So Thomas is going to be modest. Thomas was the managing broker for some, like he said, a very well-known organization. He's one of our sales managers as well. So please continue, Thomas.
One of the things that I found that is effective, if you just provide that CMA up front, it doesn't give the opportunity to sell yourself, if you will, because, you know, with technology nowadays, we do everything online, text, email, and it doesn't give the spirit of the message or the person or your passion that you can use to strengthen yourself in a position that you can't get and show that listing, whether you're new to the business or tenured. But it's very important to get that follow-up appointment. And you would definitely though want to give a range, because if you don't give a range, then they're just going to discount you, say, oh, you're just going to try to give my property away, et cetera, et cetera. But again, as you just pointed out, when you kind of just give that broad range and you say, hey, look, I would be doing you an injustice to give you an accurate price without actually visiting your property, because the numbers are just going to give you statistics based on what's sold. It's not going to tell you the condition of the house. It's not going to show you if the grass hasn't been cut in 2 years and things of that nature. But so that's an excellent tool that you can use that CMA as kind of a carrot, for lack of a better word. And then you can go in and show up the appointment to finalize the deal.
Absolutely. Great point, Thomas. And thank you. Right? Again, we're not making this up. It just works. It's always worked this way. Right? And there's a reason why there's the creme de la creme and why there's people starving for business. Right? This stuff works, man. But going back to your point to finish up with the competition, you just want to know what they've done. You don't really want it doesn't impact you in any capacity, it doesn't affect you in any capacity. You just have a little bit of knowledge about what that looks like. And specifically, more so than the listing appointment, is for the geographic market. You want to make sure that it's not somebody dominating your geographic market that's been there for 50 years, that lives in the neighborhood, that's like, hey, this is mine.
Right.
You know, this is what I do. Right. So that's what we're looking at with the competition.
Gotcha.
It's helpful when you're in the listing appointment because you know what you're up against. And like, for instance, great point. I'm gonna use somebody specifically. Actually, I won't use her. I'll use her. I'll use the same idea, but I won't use her name. So there's a lady. I was about to say young lady. She's not young. She's like 4 times my age. Right. So she and she has children that's coming up in the industry now too. Her name, right, is a name of a very prominent road in Atlanta, a very prominent road in a very prominent neighborhood, right? Who do you think lists most of the properties on that road? She does. It's literally her last name, right? And so if I'm going up against somebody like that, I'm going to use that to my advantage, right? So I wouldn't speak about her specifically, but I would say something like maybe, this is what I've done, and this is how we're going to do it for you, right? And it's not going to take X, Y, Z. I wouldn't throw her under the bus, but I would let it be known that it's not from nepotism that I'm going to be getting this opportunity. I'm delivering this opportunity for you because of the quality of service I'm going to provide for you, not because you live on the road in which my last name is on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, but I wouldn't say she's not going to do a good job because of that, because she'll still do an incredible job and she'll sell it. And she probably knows a lot more people that buys that than I do, quite honestly. So I'm going to have to create a market for you, right? And this is what that's going to look like. This is what that process is going to look like, right? But we don't want to live in the competition. We just want to know who's there before we start spending money to market there. And are you willing to dominate, or do you prefer to choose a different area? Right? If you're not going to be dominating, then it's an issue. You might want to select someone else, right? A different location, right? It's very specific and strategic with this approach, right? So the good stuff, ways to hit your farm. We know postcards, as we mentioned, we went through. Welcome back, Michelle. So we went through the postcards, how you get to the postcards. We saw that as an option. Postcard Mania is the property, the vendor that sends out those various postcards that we went through Remind. Excuse me. Of course, we also have the print design studio inside of One Design or the print center. More postcards. Inside the creative suite, you can create your own. Excuse me. And as I mentioned, I'm going to get with corporate too in our more local department to create some on y'all's behalf, and we'll share them with everybody. But Canva is another great option if you need to, and then you can just upload that into Postcard Mania or Remind, for those that don't know that that's the vendor behind Remind. And then once you do that, you'll be able to send those out. The postcards for homeowners are very effective. Again, in fact, I'll show y'all too. Those who utilize the resource that we have, which is called One Lux, you're going to be in a very prime position to do even more. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. And I'm going to share my screen with everybody that's on Zoom. Yeah, there's never been, unless, again, even people that do it one time can still get business. So imagine being consistent. There's never been a time that I sent out a postcard and it didn't work for me, especially when I was consistent with it, right? It works. It just does. And it's like, even if it doesn't work at that moment, and the higher the quality piece that you're leaving behind, like some stuff that the people that was here last week saw a lot of the different presentation material. These things matter, and it's like, it really sets you apart. Like, imagine somebody coming to a listing appointment with a folder that has a sticker on it and then some printed up paper. Some of the ink is, faded, right? And they got this bogus ass business card. And then I come up dressed for success, looking impeccable, speaking their language, right? Floating my way down the hallway as I'm talking to them for the marketing consultation. They thinking about what I just emailed them before that. And if it's a high price point property, what was delivered to them on their front porch before that, before I even got there. They already sold. And then they Google me. Oh my gosh, let's see if this guy's the real deal. And then they see that I've done over $1 billion worth of sales in Georgia, right? That makes a difference for people. And even if you haven't got to that level yet, you still want to be presented properly. If you don't position yourself to win, nobody's going to want to work with you, right? So you position yourself first, and then they're like, oh, I want to work with him. Now I feel honored that this guy is the one that's going to be representing us. And that's what it boils down to, right? You're representing them. You are an extension of them, right? So they want to work with people that they want to work with, that's going to be able to get the job done and also make sure that they're presented in the proper fashion, because you're presenting them. You're an extension of this individual, right? As their consultant. All right, so I'm gonna go to this real quick so you guys can see 15. Oh man, this stuff be passing by way too fast. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. The entire screen. All right. Somebody let me know that you can see it on Zoom.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna go to Creative Studio. And I'm gonna just show you guys the One Lux one, but you can do this in all kind of different ways, right? So inside of Creative Studio, we're going to go to One Lux, Partner Access, Print Marketing. So this is a suite of tools, and of course we got a whole bunch of discounts and everything like that. This is a suite of tools that's available for you guys once you join the One Lux organization and department. And our partner with this is the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. Again, not to make a spiel or pitch, CLHMSs make more money than any other designation in our industry, period, by far, right? More than CCIM. And I always say CCIM is literally like 3,000 times harder to get than CLHMS. So don't fool yourself thinking, hey, I want to do commercial only and this and that. Sounds great. I want to make money. I'm in real estate to make money. I'm not even gonna lie to you, right? So this is how you properly position yourself. Now look at these pieces, for instance, in comparison to the pieces that was on Postcard Mania, right? Those pieces will work. They will be effective because it's a piece. This is how you dominate a market. I'm sending people these for $1 a piece plus postage. And it's phenomenal. And they do all the work for you. Before you select your market, they're going to consult with you to make sure it's an appropriate market, right? You have to have a market of at least 100. That's $100 plus the posting for somebody to receive this as their monthly market report. And I don't have to do a thing. They're generating all this information for me. And then the individual on the other end of this is receiving this. And they're like, I'm not throwing this away. I'm keeping this until next month when I get the new one. You're literally on their coffee table, right? And then not only that, and again, this is just to market the stuff. And it might have went to like 300 minimum now, but the neighborhood itself is going to be 100. Right there, perfect timing. One Lux Magazine, Volume 5, pre-ordered today, right? And you don't even have to be a One Lux person to get the One Lux Magazine, by the way. But I would encourage you all to be part of One Lux, every single one of y'all, everybody that's not already. But with the magazine, you guys get complimentary customization, which means you can order the magazines, put yourself in the magazine for free, and leave that with them as well as another, key piece, or put that or send that to your market, right? And they're like, oh shit, I have a whole rock star working, and we're actually, our office, Atlanta office, is actually featured in this particular volume of the magazine. So if you put yourself in there as well, they're going to think that you super lit, right? And they're going to want to work with you. But again, your job is to make it as easy as possible for them to want to do business with you, right? It shouldn't be an obstacle. It should be a hurdle. They shouldn't have to think about it. I'm going to make you more money than you even thought you could make on this. I'm going to get you at least your number. Chances are I'm going to get you more, right? And here's how I'm going to do it. We also have, going back to just some of the tools, if you did want to purchase leads, for instance, you go to OneSuite. You come out of OneSuite, once it loads up, I'm going to do the agent version so you guys can see exactly how it's going to look for you. That's the corporate office, by the way, to anybody that's ever wondered what that background is. That's our hub.
Where is that located?
That's in Laguna Beach. I was taking a little electric scooter all around that motherfucker. I was like, this is crazy, super wide, really nice. All right, but you come here and you'll see lead gen program and digital ads. What we're talking about now is for sellers. So we want to talk about digital ads. The lead gen program, you can also get sellers to come, but those are going to be Google ads where people are looking to search for properties more than anything. But again, our team at IDC Global can connect all of that stuff for you. So with these campaigns, you can get in front of your geographic territory and stay in front of them. Once they click on your ad, right, you follow them all the way around the web until they clear their cache. So if they don't clean out their cookies, you follow them around indefinitely, right? And you can make this whatever. You can make it your own, the way it looks now with my name and my info, my profile. You can make it a listing. You can even do a custom. You can go create one in Canva or create one in OneSuite and then upload that so it doesn't have to look like this. And whatever messaging you want, it'll be there. So if I was doing Atlantic Station and my ad might be the background of Atlantic Station, me in front of the background and saying, you know, the high rise guy for Atlantic Station, right? Call me today. I got buyers for you. Whatever my call to action is, right? But that's going to live on the web. And I literally, when you set up the campaign, you drop in the geographic territory that you want, and all of you guys should have their info. Remember, I showed you how to get it from Remind. So you can literally take that list and then drop them in here as well. Don't have their email address and cell phone number. You really got them. You drop all of that in, and it's a multitude of things. So it's not one or the other. It's the geographic territory and it's their names and numbers, right? So it's following everybody around. So even if I don't have their names and numbers, if I know they're in that territory, I'm following them around. So if they live in Atlantic Station and I use 30363, for instance, everybody in Atlantic Station lives there, driving through there, it pinpoints them. And now I'm in front of them consistently
On the web.
on the web.
Okay.
So
I have a question though.
Yes.
So I was looking at this a couple months ago. For the output, like, so when a person clicks on this,
yes,
does it only direct them to your website, or can you take them specifically to like a contact page?
you can send them to a capture page. It asks you, where do you want it to go? It can go to your website. It can go to a lead capture page. It can go literally anywhere that you direct it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this can then replace, this is ultimately a sales funnel, because you could use the
ultimate sales funnel, because it's also an ad.
Right. Never mind. I'm getting into the weeds. Go ahead.
No, but I love it though. I think that's,
Well, my other thought is can you attach video to this?
Not yet, but you could attach video just because it's an ad. So it has to be able to be placed wherever Google or Yahoo or ESPN,
Mm-hmm.
it has to talk their language.
Right.
So since we can't do videos yet, we might be able to do like a moving Giphy or something,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that you can do a video yet. But that's a great question. That might be something that we can potentially look into further. But yeah, so as of now you can't, but you could have them click here and going back to your sales funnel approach, land on the page with a video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then you'll see at the top in the green, will bring you leads for everybody that wants to generate leads and say, this prospecting shit ain't for me. Well, we make it easy for you if you want to spend some money instead. So you literally come here, you claim your area, and this is all sellers. This is not buyers. This is 100% sellers. And so you select, this is going to be pricier too though. So don't think that this is the same dollar automated marketing. It's not, right? For 6 months, as you see, is $4.99 per month. Jan. Hold on, y'all. Let me let Jan in.
6 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Jan. We're wrapping up. We'll see you later. No, I'm joking. We got like 6 minutes left. So 6 months, $4.99 per month. And I don't believe this includes the subscription piece. So you got to pay for the platform and then you pay for the leads, right? So again, it gets expensive because they're like, we doing the work for you. Like you can just do it yourself. You can spend $600 and dominate a market that you've never even sold anything in because you become the market expert in their head, right?
So repeat that again. You pay for the ad, and you have to pay to access your leads.
No. So the ad is different. So what we're looking at now, what we just saw is just the ad,
Okay.
which is called Boost.
Yeah.
What we're looking at right now is called Leads Plus. Let me refresh that. Okay, stay. So everybody's already signed, whether they know it or not. when they onboarded. So, all right. So, but no. So this is where it says you select where you want to be, what region, and then you. All right. So let's say I want to do this vibe board isn't vibing with me. So we might not do the full demo because there's still a couple more things that we want to do. But this is where you go to get seller leads if you want them to be automated for you, right? And you have to spend some money, as you see, but there's that option for you.
Well, that's actually a really good start though, when you start your farm for that 6 months, because you should be in the base a lot.
All the time.
So that is actually a good investment.
I agree.
I agree.
You found that this is in 1 suite?
Yeah, so this is inside of Boost. So first, yep, you go to Boost. And again, Boost is the digital ads, but Leads Plus is the leads program. And again, all of the algorithms that we did with Remind is what they're doing. They're just doing it automatically for you.
Exactly.
Right? And they're pulling it, and then they're putting whatever they have to in front of them, so you're top of mind. Right?
Hey, Adrian, has anybody used that, and have you heard any results from it?
So nobody in our office has used it, but the people in other Realty One Group affiliates, they have absolutely seen some success with that.
Okay.
Yep. And so, and again, you can also, connect with folks, and it's collaborative, man. We a family over here. So it might be a situation to where a couple of agents say, hey, why don't we tag team the space? Why don't we split that? And then we split up the responsibilities and we go to work, Yep. Cool. So that's that. Moving on. Some postcards calling. We have a ton of scripts I'll share with everybody. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and call these folks, especially when they're warm, right? Especially if they're warm. But even a cold call to introduce yourself, to let them know that you have buyers looking for their type of asset or property. I gotta stop saying asset, right? Their property, right? That's how I made all of my money in commercial real estate, was calling people that I never knew, that I never had a relationship with, and I was adding value to them from day one on the phone call when I first called them. I wasn't calling them to get a cup of coffee and to get to know them. I was calling them because I had a ton of buyers that need properties just like the one they own, and they wanted to hear more about it. And then that turned into another thing, right? So it's the same thing in residential. It's like people who, especially people like right now, the average equity in a home is like over $200,000 in the nation. We're not talking specifically Georgia, in the nation. So you got some people who's thinking, they're seeing the news, they're seeing all of this stuff. They're like, there's no way I would play in this market right now. And then you get a call from somebody saying, hey, I got people that's dying to buy your type of property, and they're paying top price for it. In fact, they're overpaying for the shit. Would you be open to fill some offers? Right? Can I send you some? Because my people want to, I just need to come over and see what it looks like. Make sure it's a good fit for them, right? See what we can do, right? But you just got to get in the door. And then when you get in the door, that's when you blow them away with your presentation and your knowledge, your skill set, your value proposition, right? But you have to call. Those phone calls are crucial. And a lot of different postcard ideas, for instance, market updates, which is going to be one of the biggest because it positions you as the expert, right? You're giving them valuable information. And if you use the dollar automated reports or something similar in nature, you're giving them a high quality piece as well. And those pieces, when you fill them, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're really high quality. Like, you don't want to throw it away. You feel bad if you were to throw it away, unless you're just a jerk, Recent sales, just sold, open house, thinking of selling or buying, right? Free home evaluation. I have a buyer is one of the stickiest ones, right? I know you're not looking to sell, but would you be open to making some more money? Right? You're sitting on like 400,000 in equity. I just saw it. You know what I mean? Investment opportunities, testimonials, move up properties, or downgrade properties, right? A lot of people who's like, hey man, I need more space, this COVID thing, need to be in the suburbs, an hour away from everybody in this big ass house. Crickets. It's like, damn, why did I make that move? Like, well, let's get you up out of that. Let's get you, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And newer people. We're surrounded by universities, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some of the best institutions in the nation, right? Georgia Tech, Emory, all of these people, I want to get in front of them. Medical, The medical field in our, man, there's so many technology, right? There's so many people that need to move up or need to move down for certain reasons. Like, you just got to get in front of them. If they don't know that you exist, how they gonna work with you? It's impossible, right? The number one reason, how much time?
0 minutes.
Okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up here. The number one reason farmers fails because they are not consistent. The number two reason farmers fails because they are not strategic, right? You need to drive the neighborhood. You need to know the neighborhood in which you're dealing. And ideally, to get dominance in your farm, you should be receiving 2 pieces a month, and especially for at least in the first 90 days. Mail, door knock, email, call, ads. Ads are huge, right? I can literally do Facebook ads on top of that ad and target exactly who I'm looking for, right? Instagram ads, YouTube. YouTube is huge. Like, if I'm doing a specific market, you don't think I'm doing a YouTube video on my market, on my neighborhood? I'm talking all the way down to the subdivision. I drank too much coffee. All the way down to the subdivision, right?
To Cheyenne's point, she can do a whole video on YouTube about the new development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You own that space, and you got to live it and consistently do it. Don't do it and then stop it and then expect for it to grow. That's not how farming works. It's called farming for a reason.
Yeah.
What if our farmers did that with our food crop? None of us would be eating. Like, let's just throw some seeds in there and hope it grow. We'll be back next year to see if it happens. Like, what? That's not how you farm. You have to cultivate it,
Yeah.
right? And you got to make sure you planted the seed in the right soil in the first place, right? So that's where the actual strategicness comes into play, right? Logistically, how am I going to get this done, right? I don't plant corn seeds in a field that only produces watermelons or some shit. I don't know how farming works, right? But as an example, right? If I know it's not going to grow, why am I going to plant that there? Why am I going to plant myself in Peachtree City if I know I'm not going to bear the fruit, right? So it's like, be specific and target your market and reach out to me and everybody on our leadership team if you need assistance with it. Thomas, that just jumped on for us for a second, he will be a lot of I don't know how many people on this particular call, but a few people will be assigned to Thomas as a mentor, and others that we have in our sales management team. So again, we're here to help y'all. We want to see y'all win. So anything that we can do, please let us know. Reach out to me directly. As I mentioned, everybody will be receiving a 1 check-in. This is going to be a Google form. Please complete the form. You don't have to complete the form. Everybody's an independent contractor. But if you don't, it kind of shows me where you are with your business and how much you care about it. If you're not even willing to complete the form to analyze where your business is and how I can help you grow it, right? So be on the lookout for that over the next week. And yeah, any questions, reach out to me. Thank y'all for joining. You can have the rest of your day back, and please reach out if you need me.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.